What going on, people? Sean Allen here with Black Sci-Fi TV, and there's a new addition to the Philadelphia sci-fi scene. We're here in South Philly at the beautiful Theater Exile for the showing of the stage play Babel. Now I know what you're thinking: stage plays, Black Sci-Fi. What do they have in common? You're about to find out.
Behavioral. The doctor was concerned about the baby's behavioral genes?
There are things, aberrations, long lines of. He showed me the graph, and there were these spikes of misgivings. They might indicate sociopathy or extreme anger. There's no way to actually know how it would change or not change the baby, the child. There would be genetic retesting at age 18.
Anita, thank you so much for being here with Black Sci-Fi. We are here on, we just wrapped up your play Babel. Can you tell the people at home a little bit about it and your role?
It's very much like, it's a world premiere by Jacqueline Goldfinger, and I think of it very much as her Black Mirror piece. If you're familiar at all with the show, like similar to like Twilight Zone, the world exists kind of in what I would say a parallel universe, in which I am asking myself the question of whether or not I want to keep my child based on genetic circumstances. Chaos ensues. It's a play about intimacy and relationships and like how those things shift and change and the big conversations that people have to have with one another moving forward in the world.
What excited you most about this role?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I had worked with Jackie before on another piece, and so I was just really excited to get back in the room with her. The same Deb and I had we'd had a conversation on a train, Deb Block, the director, and I think that was maybe 2 years ago, and we finally got to get in the room together. And the role itself, specifically of Renee, is very challenging. There's a lot of emotional gymnastics, if you will.
Yeah, I was definitely moved. I saw it and I was amazed at your performance and all your cast members too. And one of the things for me, going into it, I was thinking sci-fi stage plays, you don't usually hear that mix. Was this something new for you? Am I just unknowing of the huge world of sci-fi stage plays?
No, I think you're hitting that nail on the head. Though oddly enough, this is my second sci-fi-ish play,
Really?
and
Okay.
it's the same company. So Theater Exile did a piece called Whispers Gone last year, in which I got to play a character who was like a mix between Doctor Who, Doctor Who and Miss Frizzle, and so that was kind of a time-traveling piece. And here I am again, doing another sci-fi.
Really? I never knew.
Yeah, it's a growing world.
Yeah, I'm excited by all the ways that sci-fi can be interpreted, and
Yeah.
especially here in Philly. So you're not originally from Philly?
No. I moved here in 2014. I was in New York from 2012 to 2014, and before that, I was born in Utah and raised in Iowa.
Okay.
Very, very exotic places.
I've heard. So what makes Philly home for you now?
I remember before moving here, well, first of all, my best friend from college, she had been living here for 5 years and had constantly been telling me, you need to come to Philly. You're wasting your time in New York. Just come to Philly. You'll work all the time. And at one point, she double booked herself and she called me up and she's like, listen, my director from one of the shows is going to call you. And she just wants to sit down over coffee and talk about things and just be yourself. So that person came up to New York, Rebecca Wright, and we sat down and we had coffee at a cafe, and it turns out that we saw very much eye to eye on what art looks like. And then I came down and I did the show, and then I was like, oh, I think this feels right. I felt that I had found a creative family, and that family continues to grow now 5 years later.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Shout out to that friend. That's a good friend.
Yeah.
So were you into sci-fi growing up?
I mean, yes-ish.
Yeah.
I don't know. Comic books, I was into X-Men when I was growing up. And then I think that I enjoy Firefly and what is it, Fringe, I think that I really got into. I also like The Invisibles by Grant Morrison. Honestly, one of my dreams now is, okay, my two big dreams are to be a voiceover for a kid's cartoon, one, or two, to actually be in a sci-fi series. And so the universe has now thrown me two sci-fi plays in a row. So I'm like, I must be doing something right.
Speak on it. That's what I'm talking about.
You know?
No. Are you seeing, what do you think is the future for sci-fi in Philly? Like, you know, you just blessed me with knowledge of another sci-fi stage play. How do you feel like sci-fi can be interpreted in Philly? What are the other outlets that you think that we can bring to Philly?
That's a good question. I mean, depending on film, I think that film is like having another upsurge here in Philadelphia and in like the surrounding communities. So like that's one way to do it. I mean, people can write. A really lovely place that I love to go to is Amalgam Comics in Fishtown, and I feel like there's like a whole like wealth of information and amazing people there. And so I think it's about like people connecting with one another and writing the stories and sharing them, and then like sharing them with other people.
Now you mentioned Amalgam. Aside from being an amazing store in itself, also noted for being the first store owned by a black woman on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And for you as a woman of color, how is it for you just traversing the waters of stage and now the sci-fi world? Like, if you can speak on your experience as a black woman here in Philly.
I would say that I'm a black actor in Philly. Gender is a thing that I currently am very fluid about. That being said, being black and an actor in Philly and working in sci-fi, I think that like I just have to go out and continue to like be myself and shine as excellently as I can. I think that like there is a certain like level of freedom in the parts that I get to play, only because I'm allowed to like express myself in different ways. But I think the real journey is with like directors and people behind the auditioning table and casting directors, making sure that when you see a person of color auditioning for a thing, checking your biases, which are societal and have existed for like hundreds of years, and being like, I see this body, but do I see this person or do I see their color, and how do I cast them? Because to cast someone colorblind is not necessarily the way to do it. You have to be color conscious in the way that you're placing bodies on stage. And I think that's a conversation that is happening a lot in the community. And sometimes the word like, it's a risk to put these bodies on stage. And I'm like, I think risk needs to be taken out of the equation. I think it's about persistence in educating A, ourselves, and then B, also like our audience, our public.
Yeah. And I like that you said that because the play itself, Babel, tackles some pretty weighty issues, you would say. Right?
Yeah.
And I know for some people, they might find some of these issues maybe a little too heavy. Was there anything particular that you wanted to bring to your character that you really wanted to express in this play that you really wanted to get out there for people? Like, what was the main takeaway for the audience that you wanted them to get?
I mean, there's a note that Jackie has in the script itself. It's like, no matter what, when all is said and done, like it comes back to hope and love, and like the world will throw so many curveballs at you, but one must continue moving forward. And I think that's like a very important story to tell as we keep going in this world that we also live in, which is parallel to the world of Babel.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really loved about the play, that it shows this near future and the direction that it seems like science is going in right now. And so this may be a tricky question for you, but I'm curious, if you could choose the genetics of a kid, of a baby, would you?
I think with this child, I would choose those genetics, but I think that also like what my boundaries are, like there might be, if you were to like name a whole different array of things, I think at some point you might hit up against a boundary where I'm like, this won't give this child a certain quality of life. But there's like a whole spectrum of me being like, yes, to me being like, no, let's try again, or no, let's just be us. Right. And I think that differs from person to person. And it's interesting because it's a choice, right? And the conversation about like choice is very much like about women's bodies, but in this respect, like it also becomes, again, it is about women's bodies, but like there are choices all around us in the world all the time, and like having the freedom to like speak to one's partner and like to be heard is super important.
Yeah, definitely. Communication, that's one of the things I really loved about the play. Like it didn't just give you one side. It seemed to express itself in many different ways. So what was, if you could tell us, what was one of the most challenging parts to you about the role and in getting the message out?
Because it exists in a parallel world and is not like far removed, like you say futuristic, I say it's pretty close to where we are now. So there are just like certain things in my own life that are slightly similar to that. Whereas in like other stories, I might be playing some like huge fantastical creature from another land. And so it's like easy for me to like inhabit a different body. But since this one is so similar to my own body, and because in my own journey, I've already like gone through a lot of like thinking and examining the world and seeing how it seeks to control.
Right.
How the world, like the veil is already like, certain layers of the veil have already been lifted in my life. And I think with Renee, she's just starting to peak and wake up. And so like having to backpedal and continue to like give that journey can be a little bit exhausting. But like also like knowing that like at the end of the day, like I can come back to like the strong human being creature that I continue to grow into.
So if you're saying that, what advice would you give to other actors that are looking to make that leap?
I would say be kind to yourself. Be kind to everyone around you. It doesn't matter necessarily who they are. You shouldn't look down on people just because they're not also on stage or also like the director or someone who seems important in the room. Being respectful, also like discerning, being able to discern like how you're being treated and how others are being treated. Being an advocate for other people. And again, just being like excellent by your own terms.
So, in closing, what would you say the takeaway to anybody watching to come and see this play? What's the one thing you would tell them? The main reason to come out and check out Babel.
Ooh.
Aside from you and your performance.
I think that they should come to feel feelings. They should come to enjoy an intimate night that is very thought-provoking and with some good laughs.
Well said. Well, Anita, thank you so much for spending time with Black Sci-Fi TV.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Proud. And we are here with the lovely Deborah Block. How you doing, Deborah?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fantabulous. I woke up. Can't complain too much.
Wonderful.
Made even better with this play that I just saw, Babel. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and this is my first time here in the theater at Zal. Can you tell us a little bit about the theater?
Sure. Well, the theater company's been around for 23 years. It was founded by Joe Canuso and Trish Kelly. And in 2013, I took over as the producing artistic director. And it's a wonderful company that focuses on the parts of the human journey that we tend to push to the side, or people sort of navigating the truth of the gray morality of life. So we like to do plays that don't have easy endings and that make you think. And they attract a lot of people who really want to like get into life. And so it's really a great place. And we're in this physical space. Our physical space is brand new.
Okay.
We hunkered down here in South Philly, and the building that we're in was sold and taken out from under us, and we convinced the new landlords that it would be just a wonderful idea to have a theater in their new building, and they bought it, and it's great, and we have spent the last year building the space. So this is our first full season back home in South Philly.
Congrats. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And you just said a very important sounding title for yourself.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people what is it exactly that you do?
I'm the producing artistic director. So what that does is I am in charge of both the artistic world of this organization and the financial world of this organization. So I manage both. Yeah.
I'm happy for you. So the play Babel that we have here right now is written by a Philadelphian. It's based in Philly,
Yes.
Or you yourself, do you have any roots in Philly?
Yes, I do. So Jacqueline Goldfinger is not from Philadelphia, but she made this place her home. And this is a world premiere. And actually, technically, it's called a rolling world premiere. So what that is this construct that came through the National Network of New Plays. And there are 6 companies around the country doing this play within 1 year.
Really?
And so we are super duper thrilled to be part of this national presentation of this place. Each one is a different production. So this is our own version of it, but it's all the same script. It's Jackie's work, and she's been traveling around to the different companies to develop it. But we have her here because she is a Philadelphian, a Fluffian.
Yes, a win for you. So I'm curious now, how you said this is a world premiere.
Yes.
How then do playwrights or directors, or how do you connect with these different plays? How did you score Babel, and how do you score a feature?
Yeah, well, that's a good way to say it. How did I score Babel? Because it was, so I knew Jackie. We have a relationship in that she has allowed us to help develop some of her previous scripts, but they've been produced in other places, and this felt like a play that was for theater exile. And so I stalked her, and we agreed that we were both in alignment with where we felt the play needed to develop, and so we made an agreement to do this play.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding thing for you for running a theater house? And probably what's the most stressful?
Well, there's so many things to choose from the stressful, but I believe in community. I believe in an artist's responsibility to their community, and I believe in the importance of sparking conversations, and that the artistic conversation should strive to make the world a better place. And that art itself does not make the world a better place, but it's the people in the audiences that will. And so it's our job to cultivate those conversations. And so a play like this is incredibly thought-provoking. And I came in and people are talking about, oh, what would I do? Or if I were in that situation, or how would I behave? And that's what I want. And that is what is most rewarding. Where these super smart people who are coming to see this show, people who are engaged in their world, think about these things, because they're the ones who are going to go out and change the world.
Yeah.
And so that's what is incredibly rewarding.
Definitely. So we'll skip the stressful part.
Thank you.
We don't want to dwell on
Thank
that.
you so much. I appreciate that.
How can people get in contact with you and know more about the amazing work you're doing here?
Well, we're here at 13th and Reed in South Philadelphia. Walk on in. You can do that. And or you can reach us through our website, and there's a section that says Join Us. And so we're always looking for new scripts, and we have annual auditions, or people want to audition, and we're always looking for volunteers, for ushers. It is a community. It takes a village. It is a business. And so there are people in every facet of a regular business. Here it's just smaller because we're not a big company. And so there are many different ways to interact with us.
Well, I love what you're doing here. Much success to you in the future. Thank you
Thank
for everything,
you.
Deborah. And thanks for spending time with Black Sci-Fi TV.
Oh, that was my pleasure. Thank you for being here.
It's me, the one and only M. Shy S. Dash, and here's what's up next on the Blurrdar.
Hello, my name is Calvin Grace. I'm an action figure customizer. What it is exactly I make my own toys. Either it's from a comic book, or from an artist sketch, or even my own designs. I would actually make a bust, action figure, a doll, and it'll be a unique design that I've made or somebody I know has given me a concept of. Even an artist art book from a movie that's coming out right now. I would look at the design and try to copy it onto an action figure, a doll, or a bust. Strange enough, I got involved in this when my toys broke. So when the chest broke or the arm broke off, I would go to a toy that actually broke and combine it. So like in Transformers, they do the combiners and you get a big giant figure. I did that with my G.I. Joes. And from that, I made different figures. Most people would throw the toy away, but I was creative. So the toys that they had, everybody had a copy of. My toys were more unique. My toys were the ones people actually wanted to see what it was about and the story behind the toy. I read an article in Wisdom magazine. It was one of those articles where they teach you how to turn Aeolus from the legendary Legend of Hercules into Captain America. So they gave you step-by-step understanding of how to chop off the head, customize the hair, make the shield, paint it, and that way you can actually take it from one figure and turn it into a different figure. So the community is called action figure customizing, or customizing. It depends on different genres, but like they're model makers, they're customizers, they're sculptors. Everybody is, I call it like a hand. So everyone is like a separate finger of the hand, but they all cross over because you have to sculpt it, you have to create it, you have to paint it. So everybody talks about it from different things they like. But customizers are more like action figure customizers. They are more ones that will actually say that toy is not made, or they don't actually represent this character too much, or I would have to actually go buy something from this country to actually make this character. So they make them themselves. They look up art references to make the character, and will actually paint and sculpt the action figure to their liking. The action figure customizing community is a big mix. Because in the beginning, when I've done this, I've actually started since around 1998. There was a group called the Custom Coalition. The Custom Coalition were action figure customizers that would actually talk on a forum. I found out about them just by just searching. Back then was Yahoo. I would search and I found them. I joined them and I linked it to my webpage that I had made. And I saw their work and I joined them and I actually put the symbol of their work on my page and we started talking more and more. Some of my favorite works actually that got me into this was actually John Stewart. John Stewart is actually a Green Lantern from DC Comics. So I saw that DC actually, back then it was called DC Direct actually. DC Direct made busts. They made busts of Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Alan Scott, but Guy Gardner, but they did not make John Stewart. That got me a little bit annoyed. So I made my own. Just like all customizers, once you don't see something that you like and you want to make it and you can make it, go ahead, why not make it? So actually, I made a bust of John Stewart. This is actually the one from the Elseworlds line. I found a figure, I actually sculpted it, and then later on I molded it to make more different black superheroes. So from that, I looked around at other things, like Chocolate Thunder, Mr. Terrific, actually Bucky from the sidekick to Captain America, who later became Battlestar. So with these busts, I designed a black superhero bust line for them. I'm a blerd. I'm a black nerd. I've been a black nerd. I'm a geek. Just by knowing that there is actually a culture like that, it's fun because you can actually see African American characters more. And the one actually story I can tell you about this, I was wearing a Milestone Media T-shirt. Actually, it was actually black. Actually, no, it was more Blackness. It was actually the Black Galactus. I was wearing that T-shirt. I actually walked into a bar, and the bartender, she was black, and she saw this, and she's like, "You have a Black Galactus? That is so cool." I'm like, "Yeah." So at that point, I realized there's more geeks, nerds that are African American, that are blurs, that like seeing these type of things, actually create these type of things, and write these type of things. And when they see it, they express it by saying, "I like what you got right there."